parents, Mrs. Kohler here. So today I'm going to be teaching you about subtracting fractions with regrouping the way I teach your child. And one thing I always get at conferences is, my child doesn't like the way I teach them because you teach them a different way, and so I thought it'd be easier to show you how I teach the students so that you can kind of explain to them the way I do, and they can understand it and you can understand it, and we can all be on the same page with teaching them math. So the problem I have today is 7 1/10 minus 2 3/5. I teach the students that whenever we do a problem like this with fractions, that we need to make sure that we find a common denominator. Addition and subtraction need to have a common denominator. So I ask the students to look at the two numbers and to find a common denominator, and for 10 and 5, the common denominator would be 10. 5 can go into 10, 10 can't go into 5, so 10 is the common denominator. I have them rewrite the fraction underneath, and I have them set it equal to the common denominator. Then I ask the students, okay, tell me how we get from 5 to 10. And they have to tell me we multiply by 2. So I write down times 2 right next to the 5. I tell them, okay, now that what do we do with the 3? They tell me that we have to multiply it by 2 as well. So we do 3 times 2. That means that our new numerator is going to be 6. So then I tell the students, okay, go ahead and change that 3/5 up there to 6/10. Now, the next step is we always subtract the fractions first. Well, with this one, 1/10 can't minus 6/10 because 1 is smaller than 6, so we can't do that. So the only thing we are left to do is to borrow from our whole number. And I drew some pictures down here that kind of explain how we borrow or what happens when we borrow from a whole number. So the students know that we're taking a number away from the whole number. So it's going to go down to a 6, and now we're left with this 1 out here. And we need to add this 1 to the 1/10 in order to make the 1 big enough to subtract this 6 over here. So how I explain it to the students is, well, let's pretend we have 7 pies here, 7 pies or pizzas. And they're all cut into 10th pieces. So there's 10 pieces here, 10 pieces here, and so on. So right now this is a picture of what we started with up here. We have 7 whole pizzas and 1/10 left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these pizzas and I'm going to add it to this 1/10 here. Now I'm going to count and see how many tenths do I have total. So if I count the 10 here and add it to the 1, I have 11/10. Mathematically, what that looks like is we have 1 plus 10, but we need to make this 1 a fraction. We can do that 2 ways. We can put 1 over 1. We're going to add that to 1/10, but we can't add these two together because this does not have the same denominator as this. So we're going to do something like what we did up here in the beginning. We're going to say 1 over 1 needs to be equal to 10 as the denominator. How do we get from 1 to 10? We multiplied it by 10. And whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So 1 times 10 is 10. Now I can change this 1 over 1 to 10 over 10 and add that, and that equals 11/10. So now we are able to do our subtraction problem. So I'm going to change this to 11/10. Okay. So now we have 6 and 11/10. And now 11/10 can subtract 6/10. 11 minus 6, we start with a fraction, so 11 minus 6 is 5/10. And 6 minus 2, whole numbers next, is 4. We have 4 and 5/10. And I always want the students to reduce. So I say, can we reduce this? And they say, yeah, because 5 and 10 both have a common factor of 5. This equals 4 and 1/2. So So I hope that helps explain how I teach it to the students so that you can better help your students at home with their math. Thanks for watching. See you later.